So we are now seeing digital and technological changes transform business practice at an unprecedented rate. In Technology Changes Business Change, the third part of REBA's Transforming Engagement research series, together with Mercer Marsh Benefits, we explored some of the emerging trends and future business ambitions that are fueling the fourth industrial revolution. I'm joined today by David Dodd, partner at Mercer Marsh Benefits, to discuss some of the key findings from the report. So, David, our research showed that 42% of organisations believe their business models will change in the next 2 years or so, with shifts such as greater automation and development of new services high on the list. What does change on this scale mean for company culture and also the relationship between technology and the human workforce?
Yeah, hi Maggie. Well, I think first and foremost, it's a challenge and an opportunity, and the report itself called this out, that systems and processes alone aren't going to win the day. It's how the systems and processes are delivered by people that will ultimately drive success. So, from a sort of culture point of view, I think that culture obviously lies at the heart of any successful business, and you can try and change the model and try and drive digitization and automation all you like, but without having the right culture and the right people running alongside this, I personally think that you're ultimately destined to fail. So I think it's really important to bring people on the journey that you're trying to aspire to. So what's the vision of the business and where do people sort of fit into that? And then be really transparent with individuals around what their role is and what their purpose is in terms of their own personal development and what the business's goals and ultimate success looks like. So I think, having been through this myself recently, a period of transition and change, it can be really difficult. And from a sort of culture point of view, it can be, change can be quite unsettling. It can provide uncertainty. When we see quickly moving landscapes, I think people, can be a bit daunted, but actually it can also be really exciting. So I think it's really important to have, the right people in the roles, having broader skill sets to be able to, specialize in specific areas, but also to be, maybe broader across the business, and people who are adaptable to change. So I think that, what we're seeing right now is, great period of change. But that offers huge opportunity, and I think culture is integral to that.
Sure. And what tips do you have for building a culture that is supportive of this pace of change and really looks after its people?
Again, it was interesting. It was in the report. So we talk about CHROs and ultimately getting back to being human after the 18 months that we've just had with COVID, and I think this now applies not just to CHROs but across the C-suite. I think it needs to start at the very top. So, we talk about creating purposeful work, but, people are now looking to hire people, not just for their, their past experience, but ultimately for their values. So, being able to give them work that brings the best out in individuals for them personally, and then ultimately how they then deliver for their clients or customers. Giving people work that they like to do. So how can you ensure that, from a point of view of work types, we talk about the changing model from output to input, and keep reminding people why they do what they do. What's the vision for the business? You turn up to work each day, but ultimately, what's the end state, and what's the end goal that you're looking to try and achieve? I think as well, obviously, well-being is integral to it in terms of, again, what we've been through, but ultimately, where we will go over the next few years. So how can we ensure that businesses allow individuals to bring their true selves to work? So, thinking about diversity and inclusion, the ESG agenda, so ultimately supporting the needs of the workforce. And again, the report called this out nicely as well, in terms of we're seeing a massive change in where people work, how people work, when people work. So I think from the point of view of a business and trying to support that change, being able to be flexible with how people work nowadays is really important, and promoting the ultimate employee value proposition. And then I suppose a couple of final points would be, giving people clear career frameworks. So understanding when they join a business where they're coming in at, but ultimately, where they can get to, and how they can manage their expectations around timeframes and where they can get to in the organisation. And I suppose the obvious point is just, and I touched on this earlier, is leadership. So I think that the leadership and people managers need to embody all that's good about the business itself, and make sure that they are ultimately living and breathing the culture and the values of the business. Because I think if there's that's coming from the top and from the leaders, then it naturally permeates throughout the entire business. So yeah, just a few tips there.
So to build the skills that they need for business change, employers are having to identify and recruit new talent. And we saw that 46% of businesses are expecting to increase recruitment for new skills. Meanwhile, we're also seeing organisations put more emphasis on reskilling existing employees. So how do employers identify the right balance between hiring in key talent and skills and reskilling within their own workforce?
Yeah, it's a big challenge, and trying to get that balance right and understand what types of roles you desperately need to recruit in from the external market against where you could potentially develop the existing ways that people work, but just in a slightly more future focused way. So I think it depends on the speed of change. So as I say, how quickly do they need that talent in? So if it's a completely disruptive role, so for example, I don't know, if you're working in an accountancy firm or a retail firm and you need to get a data scientist or a software programmer, the likelihood of being able to reskill and retrain someone quickly into what is a very technical and niche type role will obviously drive those businesses to the open market to try and find that talent. But as I say, if it's an evolution of a current role, so it's just effectively a different way of doing what you did today, so maybe using different or new technology or different platform to do that role and job better, then I think it would be easier to try and identify current talent and just understand what their learning, development and training needs are in order to learn that new way of working. So I do think that there's no exact science here. I think it depends, as I say, on the type of role that the business is looking to try and fill, and also the speed of change. So if they're looking to grow the business by double-digit growth, then there might not simply be enough people in the existing business to reskill, and therefore it will naturally drive businesses to the open market. So I think it really depends on, again, the type of role you're trying to fill, whether or not it's something that exists today but just in a different guise and therefore can be trained, or whether or not it genuinely needs to go out and have a look at the market. But what I'd say is that the skills gap is huge, and it's a major consideration for businesses that I'm talking to at the moment. And also what we're seeing is that obviously the labour market is red hot as well. So it's very difficult to recruit exactly what you need at the right time at what is maybe a fair market price. So we're seeing as well businesses are recruiting people into the business maybe who aren't 100% suited for what they need right now, but with a view that they can develop the other 10-20% when they join the business to become the perfectly rounded colleague.
Sure. And I guess as we see business continue to change at a breakneck pace over the coming years, do you think we're now entering an era of continual reskilling? So, and if that is so, how do you think both employers and employees prepare for that?
I think we are. I think definitely in terms of what businesses are now looking for when they look at talent, I think a sort of continuous lifelong learner is actually very desirable because it solves, back to the point earlier, it solves the problem of having to go out and get new talent every time maybe the business pivots and goes in a different direction. So people who've maybe got that aptitude and desire to learn new ways of working will be really attractive. So again, businesses that I'm talking to, they're looking for sort of core skills when it comes to recruiting new people into the business. So people who are maybe complex problem solvers, have got that sort of cognitive flexibility and really want to actively learn on the role. So I genuinely do think that this is going to be a sort of a key requirement when businesses are looking to recruit is, have we got people who are going to want to continually to develop and have that right sort of growth mindset and I suppose vision for the culture. So yeah, I do genuinely think that that when we talk about reskilling, it's going to be a major consideration. What I would also say as well is that we're also probably more equipped for that as well, given some of the technology that's now available, which allows individuals to either learn on the job or to self-learn, either during working hours or outside of work. So I do think with the advent of what's happening with technology in this space, whether it's learning and development or trading software, there is, there's a greater focus now on giving people the tools to be able to develop those skills.
So inevitably, those changes in talent and scarcity of skills are going to have a knock-on effect on reward and benefit strategies. And in the research, we saw that 72% said they expect to change their benefits offering in the next 2 years or beyond. So what trends do you expect to see as a reward and benefits evolve over the next couple of years?
Yeah, so I mean, firstly, it's not a great surprise to me that so many businesses are looking to change benefits offerings right now, given what we've been through with COVID and how that's pretty much changed the workplace landscape. So I think the first point around reward is that, and we talk about this, is that pay is a pretty blunt instrument. And at the moment, we're seeing in certain areas that, there's quite significant wage inflation. But what we're seeing is that doesn't really create, loyalty. So, if or long-term sort of service. So I think from a point of view of just pay, the sizzle of a pay rise or joining another business just because you're going to get paid slightly more wears off quite quickly. So then it obviously then filters to, right, well, what is going to be the key differentiator? And that is, from my point of view, is benefits themselves. So what we're seeing is that people are joining businesses. Yes, obviously pay is a consideration, but it's about the experience that they get as an individual. So I think benefits are, and they have been for maybe a couple of years, but this has gone into a different level of speed. I'm now looking for personalized experience that maybe meet their own values. And I think this is putting a huge amount of pressure on traditional benefits programs. And, I'm seeing that myself. The number of clients now that we're talking to about what they can do to future-proof their benefits offerings and create that experience for individuals and employees is like nothing I've seen, certainly in the previous sort of 5 years or so. So I think in terms of the evolution, we're going to start to see, much better consumer grade experiences for benefits programs. I think if that doesn't happen, then they will wither and die, because if you think about the experiences that individuals have in their day-to-day lives around technology and how they buy things that they want, their products, it's very, very sharp and personalized. And I think that we'll start to see that flow through in terms of technology into the benefit space. I think there'll be more of a focus on diversity and inclusion, ESG, and a lot of the conversations that we're having now is very much around what can we do around things like green benefits, for example. So talking about electric cars, carbon offsetting, even the providers that organizations work with, how can we make sure that they've got the right ESG credentials? So that will definitely filter more into the benefits program process. Choice and personalization, fixed core benefits programs have been withering for a number of years now, but even flex, it needs to move into that sort of personalized space now, where individuals can select benefits that work for them, either if they're working at home or even in the office, or a hybrid of the two. Workplace benefits as was, just won't fit the bill anymore. Automation and connectivity from a sort of benefits administration point of view is key in terms of where the benefits fit within the wider ecosystem. So we know that a lot of organizations are looking at the providers, the platforms, the tools that they use to make sure that there's far better automation and connectivity. And then from an innovation point of view, we are starting to see, a bit of disruption in the marketplace. So new providers coming in, which I think is great and long overdue. And a lot of that is predicated around, technology and digitization, but also new products as well. So following the theme of diversity and inclusion, we're looking at things like neurodiversity, telemedicine, engagement tools, because we know that engagement is the bugbear of the world of benefits. So we're starting to see more innovation around well-being, whether it's applications that support people at a time that is relevant and important for them. So there's a huge amount of change happening. And a final point is, I think from a sort of benefits marketplace point of view, there's been a lot of consolidation over the years. I probably would see that continuing to an extent. But as I say, from a disruptor's point of view, we're starting to see these new organizations coming to market, and even some of the big tech players are now sort of starting to straddle into the world of healthcare. So if you think about some of the stuff that Amazon are doing, that will be a focus over the next couple of years to see whether or not that starts to broaden out, and we start to see this disruption making changes to the marketplace.
Sure. And how do you see some of these trends linking into the shifts in workplace culture, skills needs, and business models that we've talked about today?
So there's, a few things really. I mean, if you talk about diversity, the workplace is more diverse than ever, and I think the new ways of working that we're looking at and the new skills that we're looking at, for the future is going to drive even more diversity in the workplace. So I think that benefits and how they're offered to individuals needs to evolve pretty quickly to meet that diversity. I'll say challenge, but opportunity as well. I think that with business models changing so significantly, I think it's, as I mentioned, it's no longer workplace benefits. It's actually a culture and experience that businesses are offering their people. So that makes technology and digital more important than ever. And then I think the final point is, we've talked about reskilling, but how do we attract and retain staff as well? I think the attraction and retainment piece is harder than ever as well. And, people have got the ability now to move around different organisations, maybe far easier than ever before. And I think that in order to drive the right culture and have, the right reasons for individuals to want to stay at their employer, benefits programs have got to effectively, fit the bill. Otherwise, people will just ultimately walk. So I think creating the right culture, experience, and benefits program together, linked by technology, will be so important as we go forward.
Well, David, thank you so much for your time and your insights today. That's been great to talk through some of the findings of the report. If you'd like to know more about the report, you can see the URL to Technology Changes Business Change on screen, and that'll also link to the rest of the Transforming Engagement series.